is still on. Is that one of the big two you're talking about? That and the Champions League.
Arsenal are still in the title race. There's no shadow of a doubt to me. Arsenal are still in this title race. They've not been my favourites all year. So I felt that Man City were the favourites. But Arsenal were definitely still in this title race. They answered their critics at the weekend with an emphatic 5-0 win. Yes, some of the goals came late, but what's the difference? The goals are goals. Who did they play? Palace came there to stink the place out, sit behind the ball, make it hard for them. By the way, this is the same Palace team that drew at the Etihad a few weeks ago. So people acting like this is the worst Palace team in history. It's only a few weeks ago. Everybody was going, wow, look what they just did to Man City. And Arsenal absolutely dominated them from start to finish. They became more clinical as it went on. They're in the title race. They listen, Liverpool are right 5 points clear of them right now. There's no doubt about it. But I think people writing Arsenal off as they've gone backwards this year, I think it's a slight overstatement. I'll give you an example. I read an article this morning that said the curse of Harry Kane has struck again. Real Madrid and the Bayern Munich have gone backwards.
I
think they are, I want to say they're 5-6 points off the top.
7.
So they're 7 points off top.
Game in hand, yeah.
Yes, game in hand. Let's say they win the game in hand, because that's what I looked at. They'll be 4 points behind. If they win the game in hand, they're actually 3 points better off than they were last year. But that's why points totals are not the ultimate barometer.
I'm not doing it by points total. I'm not doing it by points total.
I'm not saying you are.
If you look at Arsenal, everything.
Last year they were in a title race. This year they're in a title race. So I don't see that as overly going backwards.
See, I don't think they are. So that's the difference between me and you. I don't think they are. Terry, I've not changed my opinion on this all season, right? I've gone City, Liverpool, Arsenal. That's the three. That's what I think the first three will be. For me, it's everything with Arsenal. Last year, I enjoyed watching Arsenal. Shocking, isn't it? The Spurs fans will hate me. I enjoyed watching Arsenal games. I thought they played some lovely stuff. Their football was good. They scored loads of goals. I thought they were really going on the right track. And then I just don't feel that they had a summer that was good enough to really go and challenge. And they're worse off on points. Their football's not as good. They're not scoring as many goals. The players don't look as good. But I'm someone that maybe when I say they've dropped off, I think that last year an anomaly. I mean, lots of people are going on like they challenge every year, Terry. That's the first time they've challenged for many years. Was that an anomaly last year? Are we expecting, as football fans, too much of them because they finished second once? Are we expecting, they should just go and challenge again or finish? I'm not saying they're a million miles off it. I just think that when I look at them and I look at the top two, I think there's a lot of difference, a huge difference.
I understand the challenges. I look at it this way. They've only scored, I think, 4 less goals. Top of my head, 4 less goals than they did last year. So I don't see that as a huge drop-off. They've conceded less goals by 1 or 2 compared to last year. So there's a marginal drop-off in goals scored and there's a marginal improvement in the goals conceded. They actually weren't top this time last year. Man City actually were top at this stage on 51 points. So they had 51 points this time last year, Arsenal, but so did Man City. And Man City and them are both sitting on 43 points this year. So that's why for me, and I don't think City have dropped off massively. I think what's happened this year is Liverpool are better than they were last year. Villa are better than they were. You boys are much better than you were. West Ham have been a good team this season. Brighton, as much as people like they went for a bad run, they're still 7th in the Premier League, Brighton, with only 5 defeats. You know, like Arsenal have had 4, Villa have been praised, they've got 4, Spurs have had 4. Brighton are a good team this year. And then what we know in the bottom half, you look at the teams in the bottom half of the table. Wolves have actually had a really good season, I feel. They're 11th. Bournemouth have been beating people. Fulham are a dangerous team. Brentford can be dangerous. They're all in the bottom half of the table. So this is a really difficult league. There's quality from top to bottom. And it's just one of those seasons where there's lots of teams that are better. And I don't know about you. I feel the best era of the Premier League where I feel like we had the biggest depth of class was from about 03-04 till about 2012, 2013. And I say that because every year of those seasons, 3 to 4 minimum of the Premier League teams in the Champions League were good enough to win the Champions League. And we looked at them as brilliant. But the points totals of the Premier League winners back then were not as high as you've seen in the last 4 or 5 years. That isn't a dig at those teams back then or a dig at Liverpool and City. I think these current Liverpool and City teams would have competed with those teams back then. The difference was You go back to those days, there was also really good teams in 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th. And I think when City were at their pomp and Liverpool in the last few years, you had the top two that were amazing. And then you kind of had everybody else. What we're now seeing is 3 or 4 more teams join that party where they're just below that elite level, and then some really good teams underneath it. So what invariably that means is there'll be less points handed out to the teams at the top.
Terry, I understand all this. Look, it's really difficult. Whenever I come on here as a Spurs fan and I'm asked about Arsenal, straight away, all you get is, oh, you're biased. I try and be as less biased as possible. I've already said I think Arsenal will finish above us. I think I've stated that many times, right? I think it's going to be a lot closer than I originally thought, but I still think Arsenal will get third. But all the conversations I'm having this year about Arsenal, Terry, you know, we've been streaming together long enough now. You know, I said exactly the same things last year, and I was called an idiot then. I was told I was a biased Spurs mug then. I was told I was a salty prick then. Right? I'm saying the same things this year because I don't see any different this year from Arsenal to last year. I don't see that they've made that step to go there. Now, if everyone wants to call me salty for that, cool. I just don't. I think deep down, a lot of Arsenal fans know that. I think they know that. They know that rather than buying Kai Havertz, there was a lot of players you could have bought that would have gone and put the ball in the net for you. You know, instead of spending £200 million.
Yeah.
So I don't think Arsenal are bad.
I think that's fair criticism, though. I think the Kai Havertz. So I get that.
Not just the Kai Havertz. I just want
to answer this comment here. T says Terry, City were top, like basically saying that City weren't top this time last year. I was going to put it up on the screen so you guys can see it. They were when they were. There we go. I don't make up lies. I just tell you the truth. When Arsenal were on 22 games last year, Man City were top. I didn't realize they were until I checked. I wouldn't just make it up. It's there in black and white. I do get where you're coming from, and I understand it. There's a really interesting comment here from Twisted Bubba. It's a good challenge to what I'm saying, to be fair, as in challenging me. Where's it gone? It says, Terry, you don't fully rate Arteta, but you put them in a title race. Confusing. It's not confusing. I rate him as a coach. I think he's a good coach and can get a team playing conducive, consistent football. I think he can get the team into a title race. I think he's going to do it 2 years running. It's not fully rate him, I don't know whether he can get him over the line, i.e., that's why I don't have them as favourites. So it's really not confusing at all. It isn't a case of you either win the league or you're a dog crap manager. I don't think it's as black and white, as hyperbolic or polarized as that would suggest, my friend. So again, good try, my friend. A good guy there. But yeah, look, I think with the Arsenal, do you not feel like they silenced some critics this weekend by beating Palace 5-0?
No, they should be beating. They should be beating Crystal Palace. I don't think they silenced any of. Well, you forget the scoreline. They should be beating them. It was a walk in the park.
Why would you forget that? Why would you forget the scoreline?
Well, because for me, at the end of the day, Arsenal should be battering teams like Crystal Palace at the Emirates. They've been together with their manager for many years now. They spent a lot of money. This isn't a top Crystal Palace team. The Crystal Palace went there. For me, the mistake they made, they put 5 behind, 5-4-1. I fully expected, said it before the game, that Arsenal should be winning this comfortably, and they did. Silencing the critics will be in 2 weeks' time when they play Liverpool. That's when they can silence critics. That's when my opinion might change, Terry. If Arsenal win their next game, then beat Liverpool convincingly, and you go, oh, okay. All right, they've just made it very interesting. A draw or a defeat against Liverpool, though, keeps them out of the title race for me. I just don't see City and Liverpool dropping enough games if Arsenal do not win that game against Liverpool. I just don't. I don't think they've got the squad depth to cope with it. I don't think they've got the goal scorers. I
get where you're coming from. I understand that. I think for me, and at least you're making the one thing I like about you, Sav, is if you don't, you say they haven't silenced anybody, fair enough, but you've said what will silence them. I think what frustrates me with this discourse generally online is people say, no, they haven't silenced anyone. Well, when would you say they've silenced people? When they've won a league? It's like, okay.
Look, it depends what silencing means. Look, let's be fair. Look, for Arsenal, it was a really good win from the point of view that it was to stop a rot. right? Spurs have had that this year where we didn't win it for 5 and it was like, right, just get a win, stop that rot, and then you can worry about performances afterwards. For me, yes, it was very important Arsenal won that game. I fully expected them to. And as soon as I saw the lineups, I thought to myself, God, Hodgson's gone. Hodgson literally, for me, just said, we have no interest in this game. Like, we've got no interest in winning it. Try and break us down. They actually did quite a good job stopping them in open play for a long period, but too much class from Arsenal in the end. Statements, for me, the statement is go and beat Liverpool. Go and beat Liverpool, because Liverpool have only lost 1 game all year. If they beat Liverpool, that then blows it all wide open. But listen, I've said all along, Terry, I don't think either of those two are winning the league anyway. I think Man City are winning it. So,
no, and I understand that. What I will say is, I don't want to say that's irrelevant, like I'm being disrespectful. That's not what we're really discussing at this point, because we're talking about Arsenal going backwards and you're not thinking they're in a title race. But if they would have beat, I don't know who their next game is even against, because people think I take a massive, Nottingham Forest is looking on here. They beat Forest and then they beat Liverpool.
Oh,
are
yeah.
Are you then convinced they're in a title race?
If they beat Liverpool, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm looking at the table now. The thing is, I've looked at Liverpool's and City's next 7 before they play each other, and I can't see either of them dropping a lot of points. But Liverpool at Arsenal is the one where they could. Let's assume, so hang on, I'm just looking at Liverpool's next game, right? So Liverpool's next game is in the league is Chelsea at home, right? I think they'll win that, right? If Liverpool beat Chelsea at home and Arsenal then beat Forest, both teams will be exactly the same points they are distance from each other now, which is 5, yes. Right? And that's after 22 games. They play each other in the 23rd game. If after the 23rd game of the season, Liverpool beat Arsenal and go 8 points clear of them, done. They are not having a 3-game swing in 15 games. It's not going to happen.
I hear that. Do you think Arsenal have to be convincing against Liverpool, or is it just win at any cost? So performance is irrelevant. It's just about winning for you.
To beat Liverpool?
No, so when they play Liverpool,
yeah, just win at all costs.
Yeah,
sorry, when I said convincingly, sorry, I probably the wrong choice of word there. What I mean is, look, get the win. By the way, I don't want them to do this, but I'm trying to take my Spurs hat off. I know what you're saying. I'm just trying to get the win by hook or crook. Get the win against Liverpool, and then that will put them 2 points behind. Now, depending on what City have done in that time, depends on how close they are to City, whatever. But get that, keep in touch. Lose that game, draw that game, and I think most Arsenal fans, the honest Arsenal fans, not the ones that just go, not the ones that just can't see the wood through the trees, will probably tell you, yeah, that's it. So massive. I mean, where is Forest? Is it away?
Forest away.
Right, big gap. So Arsenal, go and get that win. Go and beat Forest, because there's your first hurdle. Then beat Liverpool. We've got a different conversation on our hands. Does that make me think they'll then win it? No, because I've been clear all along that I think Man City are winning it. But that puts them in it for me.
And I understand that. I think for me, the Liverpool game's really interesting because Liverpool are such a dangerous, clinical powerhouse right now. They are. And I've watched them. I've watched every game of theirs this season, and they're just. You're right.
Yeah. Sorry, no, I've not been very well lately. But go on. Sorry, mate. I'm getting old. Man. I'm struggling with life.
I get those feelings sometimes.
Sorry, I forgot I was on screen. Then I was like,
I've done it before as well. I don't know. I just want to make sure you're okay.
Yeah, no, I'm good, mate. I'll let you know if I'm having a stroke or anything.
Jeez. So where was I? So I think when it comes to Liverpool, we know how dangerous they are.
Yeah.
I still think, though, when it comes to this match, I mean, Arsenal were the favourites in this game for me, though. I know Liverpool beat them at the Emirates in the FA Cup. Mm-hmm. But the fact that Arsenal didn't win that game is a mad... If you actually go back and watch the highlights, how they didn't score is crazy.
The first half, First half.
So I think Arsenal can still go into that. They'll go into that game with an element of nerves. Of course they will, because they know if we don't take our chances, Liverpool could beat us. But... they are going to create chances against this Liverpool team, not because Liverpool are bad, not because Liverpool are horrible, but because Arsenal, home and away in the last couple of years, they've created an abundance of chances, and I don't see that changing against them. I think Arsenal will fancy their opportunity to win. I do agree with you though. If they lose that game and they end up 8 points off the top, it becomes an almost impossible task. Not just because it's 8 points behind Liverpool. You might find by then they're 6+ points behind City. And if you end up being 6 points behind City and 8 points behind Liverpool, you then get into the realms of probability. What's the probability of a 9-point swing with Liverpool and a 7-point swing with City at the same time? I don't quite know how there might be a mathematician in watching who can work that out. But let's just say it's, I don't know, a 15-1 chance they do the 9-point swing and an 8-1 chance that they do the swing against City. I don't know what the multiples are when you put them two things together, but you might be looking at 50, 100, 200 to 1. It suddenly becomes a much harder task to jump multiple teams at the same time, because if that makes sense.
Have a look. So by then, so if you look at Man City's next games coming up, right, in the league, forget the cup, they're playing us in the cup, and forget their Champions League game. Their next games coming up are Burnley at the Etihad. And I think I speak for all fans when we probably fear how many goals they're going to put past Burnley. They've then got Brentford away and then Everton at the Etihad. Now, after that, they've got Chelsea at the Etihad, Brentford at the Etihad, Bournemouth away, United at home, and then they play Liverpool. In those 7 games, I can't see them dropping maybe 1 draw and 6 wins. I can't see them getting beaten at this stage of the season, Terry. That's why it's so important that Arsenal, if they're going to be considered in this title race, have to win this one and beat Liverpool. If Liverpool win their next 2 and City win their next 3, Arsenal, by default, Arsenal would have had to have lost the game for those 2 things to happen. And then they'll be out of it for me.
I've just got a probability calculator here, but this is in percentages. So I don't know what the percentages would be. So it's 9. I need someone. I need to find one. So there are probability calculators out there. I don't have a good enough maths ability to be able to do it without it, but I'm gonna work it out. If somebody wants to do that for us, someone must be watching, must be much smarter than I am. I'm just making these odds up. I don't know what they would be, but let's just say 15-1 times 12-1. What are the odds on that happening, and what does that work out as a percentage? Someone let us know. But it's going to be a high percentage. I don't know. Honestly, I probably did this at school, but I left school 20 odd years ago, and I haven't done that kind of maths in a long time. So, and we're talking while we're live on the air, so I'm not too sure what that would be. And all these calculators are in crazy math terms, and I ain't got the time to read it. Just one of those things. I bet if I read it for 10 minutes, I'd be like, oh, I remember doing that at school, because I did some algebra not long ago with one of my cousins. And at first, my brain weren't working. Once I started reading their book, I was like, it all came back. It's in there, right at the back of my head. I'm just old and dumb, as we found out today. I got tagged, by the way. I just noticed now in my notifications, I've been tagged by bare people into that video.
I'm not saying anything, man. I'm not saying anything.
Well, good. It's all. Someone said